avoided doing webinars because I found that they're a little bit maybe impersonal. But, you know, having experienced the past 4 months as a citizen in South Africa, is that there is nothing that is going to be perfect. There is absolutely nothing's going to be perfect. And funny enough, our entire lives, all we've been chasing is absolute perfection. And it took things like this to realize that, you know what, let's just start the conversation, and halfway in, we'll figure out what we're doing, how we're doing, and why we're doing it. And when I was asked to host this webinar in Owning Your Fears, I just thought to myself, you know, what's been my fear? What's been my personal fear in the last, say, 18 years in the industry? And then more than that, just in the 36 years that I have been around. And my fear has always been to not be perfect because of who I was. I felt that I was always in spaces where, you know, I kind of had to explain to myself why I'm there. And you spend a good 40% of the time in an experience trying to not have imposter syndrome. And then you can only enjoy an experience and execute your personality for 60% of the other, because you spend the other 40% just trying to, you know, convince yourself that I belong here. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to sound a certain way. You don't have to be a certain way. You just absolutely belong here. And this is why I've got 3 amazing guests for you today. I've already spoken about Miss South Africa, the reigning Miss South Africa, Miss Sasha-Lee Olivier. She's going to come in and chat with us. Obviously, one of the most famous people in the country at the moment. And then spanning, a 25-year career as the lead singer of Fresh to Ground, has done a lot of acting, has done a lot of her own music, is a mom, a wonderful mom. Zolani Mohale also, you know, tipped her hat and she nodded and she said she's definitely jumping on this webinar with First Woman. But, you know, it's easy to get famous people to come on, and it's easy to get, you know, to know their story and understand, you know, why you're speaking to them. And my radio team will attest to this, that when things like this happen, when there's panels and, you know, when there's women's things, I'm always like, guys, surely there are people who are not famous, right? Who are not famous, but they've got a story and their story is valid and we should be listening to it. But because, you know, we've just been, you know, guided a certain way that if a face is not familiar to you, you don't want to hear what they have to say. So we spoke about a lady called Adette Bos, right, who did something phenomenal. This woman dropped 60 kilograms in a space of under 2 years. And I was just like, bring her to me. I need to rub up on her. I need to understand the psyche. And here she is. We have to listen to you. Adette Bos, welcome to the First for Women webinar. Well, thank you for your time, first of all, and welcome.
Thank you, Anele. I'm happy to be here and to share my story, and I hope I can give hope to someone out there.
Listen, I was watching a few interviews with people across the world that have lost weight, and this quote stood out for me, where she said, you know, I was overweight because I ate when I was happy, I ate when I was sad, I ate when I was trying to figure out, am I happy or am I sad? You know, I ate because I was celebrating. You know, I ate because I was celebrating that I'd figured out whether I'm happy or I'm sad. I ate when I was stressed. I ate when I was celebrating that I'm no longer stressed. So basically, I ate. And I want to ask you, weighing 131 kilograms, was that your story?
Yes, I had no idea of nutrition. That's exactly, you explained everything. You just eat. You have if there's cake, you eat cake. If there's fat cook, you eat fat cook, whatever is set in front of you. I didn't worry about that. I actually didn't know I was that big. Like I was happy in myself still, but I didn't realize, only now when I see before photos, I realized, Adette, you were really, really big. So it's a thing that you just give over and you don't realize where you are at.
Do you not find that you side-eye your family and your friends? Because I look at some of my photos when I was literally 20 kilograms heavier than I am now. And I look at these photos and I'm standing with my friends and my family. I'm like, oh, guys, not one of you be like, hey, hey.
It's exactly that. I'm also like, now I will tell people, and you still liked me, even though I was so big. And they're like, yo, we didn't see you as that, because they actually did see your personality as well, which is amazing. But I have to say, it is sometimes socially, for now, it's bad to say, but I feel socially more acceptable between people. dropping those weight, because people will look at you like weirdly if you're big, and then you don't. I was always like, why do you look at me like that? But now I understand, because now the difference, it's huge.
But now you say you feel socially acceptable. Do you not think that it's not that the social life has accepted you, but it's that you have accepted yourself?
Yes, I think that is very true. That's very wise that you're actually saying. Because the people did accept me, but I felt out. I felt I don't fit in. I felt people look at me weird or stuff like that. Yes.
No, I'll tell you, because this is why in my preamble to introducing you, I said that, there were many times in my life that I had imposter syndrome, and I didn't go after things because I was like, no, you're too big, that you can't go after that,
No.
No, I promise you, one of the examples is I used to play netball, and I was quite good. And we'd, and we'd go on tour because I represented the Gauteng province. And so, out in and about the tournament, they'd have a pageant. And my team would always be like, Anele, can we put you forward to be our representative? Because when they ask the questions, you're so smart, you're beautiful. It doesn't matter that you're big, just go. And I'd always be like, I don't want to walk down the ramp and everybody laughs, But I think, like, in hindsight, I should have just done it. I was 15 years old. What was I scared of, right? Yeah. So weighing 130 kilograms, did that weight hinder you from certain things? Did you stop yourself from doing things because you purely believed, you were too big to go for it?
Most definitely. There's so many things that I didn't do, that I couldn't do. Like, I love to be active, to be out there, to travel. I love to... I want to ride on a horse and I want to do stuff, but I couldn't. I want to jump. This is actually a very true story that happened to me. Like, I wanted to do skydiving, and I was entered, everything I paid, and I was so excited to do it. And then when I got there, the guy asked me, what do I weigh? And I told him, and he's like, he's really sorry, but I can't jump because I'm too heavy. And that was like terrible to me. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't do this because I'm too heavy. So there's a lot of stuff. Even if I fly on planes, like, that's simple, but I'm always stressed about the buckle. Like, will I fit in the chair? And do they have to bring me extended buckle so that I can just be safe? And that's stressful for me. So yes,
and you have to ask out loud for that belt, Jane. They just don't bring it for you. It's like, hi, fat person over here, need a belt.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you're like, who's sitting next to me? Who is looking? What are they thinking? Yeah.
So, a turnabout change, came, and you at work and you guys do a challenge. The Biggest Loser that you're running as you're working for a production house, Seven Alan, right? Tell me about that.
So one day the producer and the people were just sitting around the table outside, and they said, let's do this Biggest Loser challenge. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh yes, I'll do that with you. And they opened it up for all the crew and the cast members. And they said everyone pays 100 Rand to enter. And then at the end of the 2 months period, because that's 2 months before the year-end function, the winner gets all the money, plus the company will give 1,000 Rand so that you can buy a dress for the year-end function. And I was like, I'm definitely going to win this thing. So internally, I'm very competitive, and I decided as a secret weapon, I'm going to start doing CrossFit. So I didn't train at all before that. So I started CrossFit secretly. I died. I was like, the first day back at work after my first session, I was so pale and I was nauseous, and the boss wanted to send me home. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'll be fine. So I started training, and I started cutting out all carbs, all sugar at that stage. I think it was exactly a year, more than a year, that I didn't eat any carbs or sugar. I still haven't had a chocolate since then, and it's 3 years now. Like, I will have something different. Like, I will eat dates, or I now eat energy bars, but I will always check the label. Is there sugar in, or is it refined sugar, or is it like a supplemented sugar? Then I'll eat it. So I did the competition. I lost in that 2 months 20 kilograms, and I never stopped. I felt so amazing. It was such an amazing, and people were like, you look great. And I think that's important, is people that acknowledges your journey. people that will come in and say, yo, you look beautiful, you look great, that motivates me to continue the journey. And that's also why I started my Instagram page, the Fit Like a Boss Instagram page, just so that people out there can be encouraged by that. And that I also sometimes can see this is where I was, this is where I am. Because sometimes during the journey, I also get my dips. I also get like times I just want to give up. And then I have to see this is where you were, this is where you are. Like, you've accomplished a lot. Just continue the journey.
Continue. Well, one of the things that I read up on the internet about drastic weight loss and, sticking to it is, and I'll read it for you, it says, you have to change something completely unrelated to eating and exercising about yourself to keep the weight off. So it means that it's an internal decision. What internal mind shift happened for you? Like, what is it that you finally realized that you deserve and that fear left? The fear of that crutch. It's almost like at times I feel like my weight has protected me from things. My weight has protected me from having to use my sexuality to get jobs. Where I always felt like, they'll always look at talent for me because I'm not sexy. I'm not sexy, so no guy is going to want me to sleep with them to get a deal. And I feel like that's protected me. But obviously that's a mind shift. That's something I have to change in order for me to be able to, lose the weight and then keep it off, because, it's a lie. It's a fabrication that I've made up in my head. So for you, outside of your diet, outside of your gymming regime, what did you change about yourself that's kept this weight off?
Sure. That's a difficult answer if you say outside of my gymming regime, because I think that became so part of it, because that's something that I didn't do that I am doing now. And I think for me not to train is difficult. So what happened now is at the beginning of the year, I did those gene tests. I did it that you test your genes and they tell you what exercise, what to eat and stuff. And they told me I should do endurance training. And I shouldn't actually do CrossFit according to my body type. So at the beginning of the year, I got myself a bicycle and I started cycling because that's endurance training. And I love it so much. At this stage, I've started in January. I did the Cape Town cycle tour and I did it in under 4 hours, which is amazing for someone that just started cycling. I was so happy. And now I have this new passion that I just want to follow through. So at this stage, my dream, and it sounds crazy, they say most if your dreams don't fear you, they're not big enough. So this is the first time that I feel something is making me so I want to become a pro cyclist. I want to be part of his pro cycling team. And I want to pursue that dream. So that's something that keeps me now motivated to keep the weight off and to do something for myself that's bigger than I thought I would ever be able to do. 3 years ago, I couldn't even fit on a bicycle. So now I'm like chasing dreams on it. Yeah.
The bicycle's going to need extra wheels, guys. Because, us flat people, we make those jokes about yourself so that no one else will do it first. Zolani, you are nodding. You're nodding that, people make those jokes first so that, you get ahead. You get ahead of the hate. Zolani from Freshly Ground, I'm going to have to bring you in here. First things first, it's like with you, we didn't even know you were big. Like, I only realized you were big when you became small. So, but I mean, clearly you thought you were big. Walk us through being at the front line of one of the biggest South African bands, and you kind of have an issue with the way you look.
So thanks Anele. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be able to share stories and listen to stories of other women. Adette, it's been really wonderful to hear your journey so far. Anele, this question that you're asking about, and this observation that you're making about you didn't even know, you didn't have a sense. Adette said a similar thing. She at once did feel scum, or shame or whatever about her body, but also there was a sense that she was just living her life. She mentioned something like, and it wasn't until maybe she saw an image of herself, in retrospect. I had exactly the same experience. For me, I'm an extroverted introvert, and I love to be amongst people, and I love to I'm really good at dancing and I'm really good at performing and I'm really good at being in the spotlight when it's that time. So, freshly ground gigs were very energetic, incredibly energetic.
Yes.
And a lot of people would say to me, especially concert people, would be like, it's like you don't feel your body. You're like awuziva,
awuva lo mzimba wakho.
And I actually didn't. I didn't, because I was enjoying the experience and being in the experience. And to be honest with you, it wasn't until the biggest moment of my career, which was the 2010 World Cup, when billions of people around the world were looking at me being a part of this moment, with the band and with Shakira and the whole world and South Africa being center stage there, that I saw myself and thought, oh my God, is that what I look like?
Ooh.
And there was such a massive disconnect between what I felt like, which is something that Adette has mentioned, and what I look like. And then it became a process, which is still going on today.
So wait, you on stage with Shakira, and I mean, I was actually out of the country at that point in time, because I know I'm the only South African who left South Africa during 2010, because that's my problem, not very clever sometimes. And I watched that in America, right? And, the papas watching it and were going mad, and they love you and they love the song and all of that. The very next gig, because now you saw what you look like, did you go on a little bit different with a little bit less confidence, because now you have a mental image of, when I do this, the whole site shakes. When I do this, the whole site shakes.
Oh God, girl, you are just you're born with such a long, funny bone. Oh man, I love you. Yeah, I mean, I think so, but Anele, it wasn't just the weight. It was the weight was a symptom. The weight was a symptom of methods and coping mechanisms that I developed from when I was a child, of escaping my feelings.
Okay.
So I used many, many ways to do that. I used television, I used entertainment, I used sex, I used food, I came to use alcohol. Alcohol was a big one for me.
Yeah.
So all of these were tools that I developed. When I was a kid, I developed this tool of like stepping outside of myself. So in 2010, and from then on, that's when I really started to become aware of this mechanism, opting out, of being like, if a feeling is too big, then I've got to like get out of it somehow. And food was just one of the ways that that played out.
I watched one of your TED Talks, Zolani, and you said that, your dad went with your mom hoping he's going to come back with her, and they will have a family of 4 children and a mom and a dad. And then that wasn't the case. She never came home. Your mom passed away. And you said he went numb after that. And he was this person who used to talk to everyone in the street, wants to know who your dad is, who your grandfather is, your entire lineage. And all of a sudden, he went numb. The same time he went numb, is that the same time that you then chose food?
That's very astute. That is the first, I think that was the beginning of where the mechanism came into play. So then it probably was because I was 6 at that time, 6 or 7. So when he shut down emotionally, I mean, he was my primary parent. I learned that, what I learned from that is that you can and you must shut off your feelings when it's just too hectic. I mean, he lost the love of his life. I learned that there, and I learned that I couldn't approach him with my feelings, so I had to take care of them. So TV, and then definitely food became a very big solace for me. And of course, then I had sexual abuse, at the hands of my stepbrother. After my father remarried, and then my stepmother was also emotionally abusive. So all of those factors come into play. When you find your tools of choice, you lean in heavy. So that became my story for many, many years.
Well, I mean, for Adette, she shook it off because she, secretly went to CrossFit and then dropped the carbs and all of that. For you, you make the decision and then the very next day you're implementing the decision. What's the first thing you implement?
Wouldn't say it was the very next day. It's been a very, very slow process. And my weight loss journey probably only started in earnest maybe a year or two from that realization, from that moment.
Yeah.
And so it's, for me, all of my deepest learnings have been, they take time. I'm not I'm a smarty in many ways, but I feel like, things that really, really stick with me have to have taken a long time. And it's a journey, man. Anele, it's a journey,
So
Gosh.
what are relationships like? And I mean, now the romantic relationships, what are they like when you realize what you look like? Because, and I always say this, like, I take my preconceived notion of who I am into the bed with whoever the lover is at that point in time, right? And men will always be like, me, I don't see that. Like, me, I'm here because I dig you, right? And there's such a disconnect from what we see, what we think men see, and what is actually the reality. So what is your love life like? Whoa, that's one of a tongue twister. What is your love life like when you have that mental image imprinted in your brain about what you look like?
Oh man, I mean, this is a massive topic, Anele. This is it's really massive for not just for women, for men as well. This body image thing, and particularly in an intimate setting, it's a really big thing. Because as you very rightly say, our partners, by and large, they love us for who we are, and they love even those things that seem like real imperfections to us. So it's all, for me, relates to the relationship that you have with yourself. Your level of being comfortable, being intimate with another person, like truly intimate with another person, really depends on your relationship with yourself. How intimate you can be with you, how loving you can be towards yourself. And that is something that I think I might take my whole life, I'm moving towards, really accepting and loving this being that is me.
Yeah. So, Adette, and I'm going to bring you back in here quickly, sneakily, and then I'll carry on with Zolani. This is a question for both of you, and Adette, I'd like for you to answer it first. Coming through from the audience, they would like to know, Adette, if you're losing 60 kilograms, surely there's extra skin. Now, you can tell us that we are being extra nosy and we can mind our own damn business, or you can come through and say, I can answer that. Did you have extra skin? What did you do with it?
I do have extra skin. That's a normal question that people will ask. I think I've lost, because I trained from the start of my journey, I toned actually very well. Like my arms are toned fine. Like people won't see it in my arms, and my legs, it's only the upper thighs. Oh, there's loose skin there. But then I do have a lot of loose skin around my tummies. At this stage, I just tuck it in, and like I will wear tight jeans or tights or stuff so that it will not show. But I won't be able to go in a bikini. I think people ask me also, will you go for surgery? I always said never. I'll never do that. But at this stage of my life, I think because the skin is beginning to hold me back a bit. So, but it's like 80,000 rand that I don't have. But one day I think I would love to just do a skin removal around the stomach, the tummy too, because that, it is hindering at the moment. But I will always tell people also, I'd rather have loose skin that I can tuck in than having the big fat body that I had.
Kilograms. Zolani, how much weight you lost? I know the article I read said you lost 20 kilograms. How many?
I'm trailing behind Adette. I lost weight. Way less kilograms.
Anything is amazing.
So how much did you lose?
I think at that stage, I'd lost about 25 kilograms.
Amazing.
And did you then have extra skin?
Not really, but you know what? I mean, I am I'm short. You know, I'm short, and I think that I also didn't have as much weight as Adette had to lose.
Yeah, to lose.
Yeah. So I mean, now you know what I mean. Now I'm quite loose. Now I'm plenty loose. Also with lockdown emotional eating, you know, it's like definitely like, yay, come into play.
Like, I picked up 10 kilograms in lockdown. Damn you, COVID. Okay, like. And I promise, I called my best friend the other day, and I was actually quite depressed about it. And she was like, "Babe, are you really sad?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm sad. I'd worked so hard. I was gymming, And then the next thing this happens, and it actually made me. I was a little bit mean. Like, I was a mean person because I'm just angry at anything and everything around me. So, like, do you think, Zolani, your personality, you are a kinder person now because you are more? Because I remember you said, I felt my outer should reflect my inner. Do you feel that, your inner is even better now because your outer has caught up?
So, I mean, let me put you in the frame. I mean, I think that I'm not skinny by any means. You know what I mean? I'm not skinny, and I may never be skinny. For me, the work has been to love my inner. You know? Back then, when I started on that weight loss journey, that is what I thought, Anele. Exactly what you say. I wanted my outer to match my inner. I felt like I was a skinny chick, you know. I felt like I was, la 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 la, all that stuff, and I was, but I was still active as though I was, I was still like, and that's where I am today. For me, the work is really just like digging me, no matter what the fuck I look like. Excuse my language. No matter what I look like, that's actually the work of it. Is really accepting myself. Even if even if I will never fit into another pair of jeans. Adette, man, I applaud you, by the way. Even if I never fit another pair of jeans, that is the work for me.
That is the work. You've said two things here that have sparked two quotes in my head, and both of these quotes are so apt into bringing in our Miss South Africa into this conversation. The first one, you said something about skinny, and then I remembered, I think it was either Naomi Campbell or Kate Moss who said, "Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels." And I'm like, well, anyway, like I roll my eyes at her when she says that. And then another one is you were speaking about your inner work is that, is that people will like you regardless. So that's the confidence thing. So the quote that came in my mind is, confidence is not, will they like me? Confidence is, I don't care if they like me or not. And that quote, every time I see that quote, I think of Sasha. That girl's confidence is like, Yazin, me, I'm not here to be liked by you. Me, I like myself. So this is why Sasha-Lee, Miss South Africa, join us.
And it's so great that you say that, because sometimes I have to remind myself, I love myself today. Whoever else likes me, your like is extra. So it's fine. Whatever happens.
I've got pockets to carry your like, but even if the pockets are empty, I'm good enough here.
Yeah.
So, your bio, the first thing we'll see when we look at your bio, and obviously being a Miss South Africa is something that's just under a year old, right? Before that, your bio would say model. When you wrote that down, did you ever second guess yourself? You're like, ooh, I can't say model, because then somebody looks at it as like, model, you're a model? And then you have to explain, no, ma'am, I'm a plus size model. It annoys me that there always has to be some explanation that goes before you saying model. Did you find that, and how do you trudge through it?
It's something that I'm still finding really difficult to navigate, because I continuously have to even now define what plus size model is. And there was this whole debate in the beginning of our Miss South Africa journeys with Beulah and with myself, let alone, is Sasha-Lee pregnant, all of these things just defining, the type of model that I was. And I think, when we look at the term plus size, we have to look at it three ways. You have to look at it in terms of the industry and what plus size means there. So anything above sample size is considered plus size. I'm a 14. I don't know now with COVID, guys, it's been real. Whatever that means, I think the problem was the track pants, guys. We all start wearing track pants at the bottom and then we forget, because from here up, it's work, and then from here down, it's track pants. So with all of that being said, there's, the industry and how it would dub you. Then there's you and how you would view yourself, and that's the most important. But then there's society and how they determine what plus size is, and that's subjective. And obviously a lot of people don't see me as plus size, and then there's the people who do. So there's a bit of controversy there with regards to the term.
A comment from Cindy Peluta, one of my favorite people in the world. She says, Sasha, 14 is not plus size. Watch yourself. And and that's the thing, because now you've got people who are size 14. They're like, hi, guys, and you're plus size. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a size 16 on a good day. And I'm like, well, am I plus size? Do I qualify? Yeah. Can I get a modeling deal? Going into Miss South Africa last year, I remember, there was like this, this huge debate sparked by a DJ, and he was like, basically the question was, is Anele pretty enough to be judging Miss South Africa? And I was just like, yeah, I'm like, listen, guys, let's not distract from the fact that there are 10 girls in front of us that have to literally, walk in front of the entire world saying, I am beautiful. So, Sasha, going into the pageant last year, you and Beulah are the plus size girls. The other girls can just grab a dress off the rail and it fits. They may not like it, but it fits. With you, did you find that there was more of a push and pull when it came to what you would wear? And I'll tell you this because I've done TV now for 12 years. Every time wardrobe is set out for me, they will always get it wrong. This is why I have my own clothes made, because I don't want the situation where now we're shooting an ad and everybody's putting their jeans on and I'm like the one who doesn't have fit. So did you find that in there, and how do you not get distracted? And I know you didn't get distracted because you were the second runner up. You went far, so you didn't get distracted. So was there that? How did you deal with it, and how did you not get distracted?
It's still very difficult. I think I struggle up until today because I never find the appropriate size. At least we have Werner on our side who goes out and sources, a couple of things, and he'll get a size bigger and then my size, just so that I feel comfortable. Because I can promise you now, you will never find me in a changing room. You will never find me there. I don't like it there. I never really find anything that fits. A size 14 isn't a size 14. It's whatever they think it is in that specific shop. So it's very, very difficult on you. And I think, I've never said this before, but there was times I used to cry in there because it was so hard finding jeans that fit. And then I, to be positive, I just found myself in the track pants gang. So I was just, okay, it's fine. I'm just going to wear track pants. I'm just not going to wear jeans anymore because nothing fits. And I think the problem with, the industry, when you go into it, with everyone's bodies are completely different. And I always try to explain to them, listen, I know you may think I am only a size 14, but I need you to consider that my thighs are bigger than the top half of my body. And it's right what you're saying, because we could never just take stuff off the rack. And it was very stressful. Because you never knew when something fits, and especially at Miss World, because mind you, at Miss World, the craziest thing happened, right? So they get these silver jumpsuits for everyone to wear. It was a dance that we were doing. It fits everyone. Guess who it didn't fit, guys? Guess who did not fit? Yet they had my sizes. So they had to go and take back the whole batch and make sure that there was the cut was specifically for me. So they had to return everything. So it's a bit difficult to deal with, but you take it.
You constantly say that you are glad of where you are because you're basically allowing the next generation of young girls to define their own beauty. And I love that you always say this in every interview, that no one has the right to tell you what beautiful is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and never have that fear of falling under somebody else's, subjective view of what beauty is. How did you get there? Because you weren't plus size yesterday. Obviously, you grew up being plus size. How did you get to that thinking of like, if I actually define beauty for myself, then I don't have to listen to somebody else's rules on it?
Mm. So I found myself in, I'd say, the knowledge action gap. So I was always of, the notion that no one had the right to define what it is. I was aware of that. I knew we came into a society that had this pre-assumed template that they placed upon us. Where I was lacking for a very long time was the action. But I tried for, I think, like 6 years to get into the modeling industry. I wasn't big enough, I wasn't small enough, so I either had to pick up a lot of weight or lose a lot of weight. And now I was just like in the middle because I couldn't do either. And then what happened was the industry itself started, making that transition, started opening up and being a little bit more inclusive. So I was lucky in the sense that last year, before Miss South Africa, I was signed to Boss Models, a proper, it's a renowned agency. And thereafter, it was great, and I just had to take it in my stride. Murphy's Law, the first job I booked was underwear, guys. It was for jockey. First job I booked, and I remember never even going to the beach wearing a bikini, let alone being able to take photographs in, a bralette and, it was covered up. It's, it's very teen orientated, jockey, the brand itself. So just going about in my underwear and taking photos, it was very difficult. But I'd say that, what drove me was the knowledge that it was for something much greater. It was to, shatter these glass ceilings. And I'm not saying that this is the end, because I feel like although Zozi, we've gotten to this place, it's on everyone else to, take on the baton and carry on shattering those glass ceilings, because we know we're near where we need to be.
Yeah. Listen, I told a lot of my girls that with a lot of my girlfriends who have children who are girls to tune in today, because all three of you, I know you have, something very important to share, because I think we don't realize what kids are going through at the moment. They are open to all information. At every whim, they're getting information that is molding their minds, that is, directing them in a certain way. And Sasha, I'll start with you, then I'll go to Zolani, and then Adette, I'm going to come to you. Obviously, you are this person now. What did you need to be said to you or done for you by who when you were younger? Because I feel like you are the person that other people need. When you were at that age, when you were 15, when you were 16, what do you feel like you needed that would have made your reality now a lot better?
It's quite difficult, because I feel like we're in a world where there's quotes on Instagram. Oh. There's our parents who nag us and tell us what to do. And they're right most of the time. They really are. But I think that in most instances, it's up to you to decide on certain things. Certain decisions need to be made by you. And I think then that, whatever it culminates in lasts a lot longer. Like as you were asking Adette earlier with regards to like what needed to happen for her to say, well, this is it, this is the next step. This is what she needs to do. What keeps her, is it the gym? And it's a decision you make, and it's subjective, because you can't really pinpoint that particular thing. But I think that, in this world with all of this knowledge, there's just honestly just so little truth. But I think at the core of it all is that it's up to you. It's up to you.
Ooh, that is put that on a t-shirt. There's a lot of knowledge, but not enough truth. Ooh, girl. Zolani, I'm coming to you. Who did you need when you were growing up, and how are you making sure that you are that person for the next person now?
I really love what Sasha-Lee said. I think that there's a lot of truth in the intrinsic value that everybody has, that every single human being on this planet. And I think that intrinsic value is something that is too much questioned and eroded in society. The notion that you are not enough if you are not thin. You are not enough if you are not rich. You are not enough if you are not smart. That takes away from your basic human dignity and as I say, intrinsic value as a human being. So I think that that's an excellent point. Then I think, then I think it's seeing people like Sasha-Lee. Then I think it's seeing you, Anele, then I think it's seeing, it's seeing examples in the world of people who are being themselves, while not fitting into a cookie cutter, world, and really thriving and being happy and being honest and being, and succeeding in learning about themselves and in sharing themselves, and in Adette, and all of our stories, when we can see somebody and we can engage with their humanity and we can learn the things that they're working with, it really helps the next
representation. It really matters. Adette, who was this person that you needed when you were a kid, and you can almost identify it when you can see a kid and you're like, ooh, this kid needs what I needed when I was younger?
It's quite a difficult question, because if I look back at my life, it's not that I felt there's someone that I still needed, because we're all shaped during our journeys. But something that someone told me, if we look at the weight loss part, someone told me, actually at Sendelon where I was working, Karen, there I was halfway in my journey, and she told me this one sentence that makes sense. And she said, we have to eat to live, not live to eat. And that actually made a change in my mindset. So now food isn't everything for me. It's something that I need to eat to survive. I don't need to survive to eat. So that's a little thing. And then what Zolani also said is, love yourself. And I think along the line, if you can just have one cheerleader, so with that one person keeps you accountable, that will tell you, because when I get my downtimes, I'm like my one friend, Philip, I will just tell him, this is happening and I'm getting fat and and then he will say no, and or you will go and say, yeah, I think you should just check yourself again, like not like if I feel I fall off the bandwagon, he will tell me, and then I will straighten my mind again, and I will be like, this is my goal, this is what I'm aiming towards, and I will continue on the journey. So yeah, in short, love yourself, have a cheerleader, accountable person next to you that will guide you, and that will just be that voice of reasoning, and love, and enjoy the journey. It's a journey. There's no finish.
Speaking of journey, and this is what I wanted to ask you. Obviously, when you're piling the weight on, right, you can see, okay, I'm 90 now. Okay, 95. Hello, 97. Hey, 103. And when I'm putting on weight, I always have like these moments when I'm like, okay, you at 101 now. Just make sure you don't get to 105. And then I get to 105. I'm like, I get to 105.
Oh, I love it.
So when you're going and you're hitting, you're hitting, let's say you're driving to Durban, hey, Engine, Caltex, hey, Shell, all of these places, you're hitting them. Like, what conversations are you having with yourself? Are you bargaining? Are you like, if you don't get to 105, I'll buy that dress. Or if you don't get to 105, I'll take you to Mauritius. What's the conversation in your head, Adette?
There's a lot of conversations in my head. But it's like you hit the spot so perfectly. I love it, because that's exactly true. And then you're just like, okay, I'll just buy bigger jeans this time. But that's it. And instead of going to pay money to buy new jeans, just have that switch of like, okay, no, let's go back to where I was. But it's a constant conversation in your mind, and you constantly, I think it's like you said, it's that thing that you said something about, it's better the taste to be skinny than, what's that thing that you said?
Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Yeah. I think when you get to the down go, it's a way better feeling than the up go, because then you're like, yes, one down.
Yeah.
And then you will go up. Like my journey went like that, but it's a continuous thing down. So for me, consistency, even though you go up, we all have our monthly cycles, and then you go up and you eat more in that time. Well, I do. And then you just have to tell yourself it's fine if I messed up this day or this week. But this is not my lifestyle. I want to go back to my lifestyle of eating healthy. I will also ask myself what I'm putting in my mouth. What value does that have to my body? So what will that give my body? So then if I have to choose between a chocolate brownie and almond, I will say the chocolate brownie, there's no really value for that in my body, but the almonds, that will actually help me. So it's a constant this or this.
Did you ever skydive? A lot of the people are asking on the chat, did you ever skydive?
No, not yet. I really want to go. It's on my bucket list. I said when I have my goal weight where I am at now, I want to go skydive. So yes, no, I haven't done it yet, but I still want to. Yeah.
Zolani, for you, as the weight is going up, what conversations are you having with yourself? And I like the way Adette also brought in, if we're going to discuss it going up, let's discuss it going down. What conversations are you having with yourself then?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna answer that question, but I did want to say there was something interesting about when I went through that radical weight loss journey. There was something that happened to me in the going down. For me, somehow the exact same mechanism was triggered. That mechanism of, I kind of identify as a bit of an addict. I get into a certain space and I I don't know, whatever. There was something very addictive about that, losing it. It became separate from, I was able to use on that feeling. And I'm not saying that this is a death process in any way. But there's something that I just related to in that as well. Okay, so what conversation I'm having as the weight is going up? I'm having the conversation of why, in what ways am I acting out? All right. So how am I? I love your attention, to Adette, to, is this good for me as opposed to that? So for me, like, I still have that relationship with food where it is a comforter, where it is, it plugs a hole. So for me, the process, as in all things now, is like, what part of me is this feeding? And it's a bit of a deeper question. What is this problem that I'm trying to address with wanting that piece of chocolate, or that second piece of chocolate, or that third bloody slab? It's those kinds of questions. Yeah.
Sasha?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your conversation is like, it's different because I don't feel like you went through a drastic weight gain and a drastic weight loss. But I mean, you here because of your unshakable, body confidence, and which is something that a lot of people are saying on the chat as well that we need, because our daughters are growing up and they're watching, one type of person be found to be attractive, right? And one type of person be found to be healthy. When you do go either way on the scale, what conversations are you having with yourself?
So I actually did gain quite a lot of weight post pageant and this whole year, this whole experience. So I think I'll be honest enough to say how much I weighed in the beginning and how much I weigh like now. So I came into this and I was around about 71. So I was about a size 10. I was a size 10 when I went into Miss Africa, naturally preparing for it. You're a bit stressed out, you're skipping meals because, you're preparing, you're wanting to know the socioeconomic status of a country and any possible things. We know that Anele is going to ask us on that day. We just knew. We had to prepare. So naturally in prep, you're losing weight. When I went to Miss World, I took out my wisdoms, I lost more weight. And then I came back to where I'm at now, and I think I'm weighing around about 86-ish. Somewhere there. But what I found is that there are days I wake up and I do have a little bit of a cry because I'm not exactly happy, with what I see in the mirror, because it is a bit of a change for me. And I've just told everyone that I'm so confident, and I am. But there are days where it's difficult. It's a decision you have to make every day. Self-love, that word that everyone throws around, it's not like some destination. It's you have to love yourself every single day. Now I have to love myself regardless of the fact that I've had to acquire a new wardrobe, after, preparing for Miss World and preparing for Miss South Africa, because those things, they don't fit me anymore. But I'm comfortable enough to say that it's okay to be this size, and I'll just own it. I can own it.
Okay, so we've got about 9 minutes left. I'm throwing it out. Anybody who's got more questions, this is your chance. Otherwise, these ladies are going to go back and you're never going to speak to them again. I'm lying. You can find them on social media. They'll give you their handles right at the end. In the last 9 minutes, I've got 2 questions for everyone. Which diet do you laugh at yourself because you went on? And I'll go first. When I was in varsity, there was going to be an end-of-year dinner at Tux FM, which is the first radio station I worked for. And I went on a cabbage soup diet. Not only did it stink, not only did it make my farts terrible, but I think I lost like 900 grams, maybe a kilogram. And this is after, guys, drinking cabbage 3 times a day for 14 days. I still scold myself for such silly behavior. That is the most abusive relationship I've ever been in, and I've been in a few. But like that cabbage soup diet, bro. So Adette, out of everything that you tried, which is one of the diets that you thought to yourself, woo, never again?
That's an interesting question because I've been on quite a few. Talking about the soup thing, I remember at university, someone gave me this soup thing that you have to eat. I don't know. That was terrible. But in the bigger picture, banting, the whole banting wagon, it's not for me. I felt it's not working at all, and I was nauseous. So, banting doesn't work for my body. I just quickly want to say on that. The thing is, something that works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. Now, that's something I've learned, because people ask me, what do you do? And then I will tell them, and then I realize, but that's not necessarily going to work for you. Maybe banting is working for a lot of people. It's definitely not working. So you have to figure out your own body and listen to your own body. That's where I'm at now. I listen to my body. I understand what my body needs and what it doesn't want at all. Sorry, that's not actually your question.
Well, Adette, I mean, I must say again, you've come out with some real pearls. This thing of listening to your body, and like really that way of regulating it's so fundamental. It would be so amazing to teach our children that. That like what do you feel like, and what would make you feel nourished, as opposed to what would take your feelings away, or your fear away, or whatever. Anele, to answer your question, the diet, the craziest diet, I've only ever done one diet, and that was when I lost 25 kilograms. And it's a flippin' nutso diet. It's the HCG diet, and it's a 500 calorie a day diet. Yeah, right? But listen, it obviously it really worked. I've tried to replicate it. I've tried to go again, but it's insanity. The weighing and the constant like kind of attention. It's madness. So that's the answer to your question.
Ooh, those 500 kilos, you lose personality, hey? You're just angry all the time. Hi, how are you? I'm fine.
I know that feeling so well. Like I get angry, so angry.
I was, it works, if you're in it, I was getting very high on that loss, because I saw drastic results, day by day, so I was extremely high, it was extremely gratifying, but I've never been able to replicate it because it's just so mad.
Yeah. Sasha, the craziest diet you've ever been on?
Wow. I think I had a really good relationship with Burger King that I was not able to give up for anyone. I was just like, listen, guys, this is it, me and you till the end, forever, long chili cheese. But if I did try something, it was because of my love for Beyonce, guys. There was that cayenne pepper.
Ooh, cayenne pepper, ginger, honey. Oh.
And how that worked out?
Because I was a fan, so I had FOMO and I just had to be a part of it. So I tried it, but it wasn't like a thing that I went on a diet. I wasn't consistent enough to ever go on a diet.
Dude, celebrities, me, when they're like, oh, I went on this, I'm like, and who's your plastic surgeon? Because I'm sorry, guys, like I think we try so hard to emulate things that are just like far away from us. Listen, towards the end, somebody just asked, Adette, I think you must come in here. I often hear the statement, it's more diet than working out. Is there any truth in that? Or is there a balance? I know people who have like abs say, abs are made in the kitchen. It's 90% diet and 10% working out. But I mean, Adette, you swear by CrossFit. So what was it like for you?
That is definitely true. I always say you can't out-train your diet. So you can't say, I'm just going to train and eat what I want, because you are going to gain weight. I've tested that. So definitely you have to look at what you're eating. And then if you're exercising with that, it will actually speed up the process and you will feel better. And the thing for me is when I train, especially I train 5 o'clock in the morning, that's a set thing. So if I train first thing in the morning, my mind and my body and everything is set up for the day. So I don't want to eat crap during the day because I feel good after the workout. So it's something that we together. And then something that I've realized through my genes, they actually said for my genes, training helps with weight loss a lot, where most people it doesn't help. So you have to check your diet and then train according to that.
All right, everybody's got 30 seconds to wrap this up. What a wonderful webinar this has been, girls. You guys have been amazing. 30 seconds, I will start with you, Adette, and then we'll go through to Miss South Africa over there. What have you decided that you are no longer going to fear? It is not going to be something that is in your radar any longer.
Fear of failure. Don't think you're going to fail. Just go for it. One step and one day at a time.
Because there's people out there who can do less than you and they're doing what you are too scared to do. Meanwhile, you could just do better at it.
Amen.
Zolani?
Fear of my own power.
Because I mean, if your voice has reached every corner of the globe, what is it that you're scared of, Zolani?
Right.
Huh? Right?
Working on it.
Sasha?
Actually, just building on what she said, the fear of success is real. I think, the fact that we thought that we one day could be in this position and this place, the fact that we have thought of so many other things and knowing that it's possible now because I'm in this position that I'm in now, it is scary. So I think it's just a matter of, holding my own and not doing my life for anyone from here on out.
No, man, thank you so much. Look, hey, thank you for doing this for me outside of Women's Month. There's nothing more I hate than Women's Month when we all want to flock to talk about women. I'm like, rah! These conversations need to happen every month where we are constantly reflecting, checking how far we've come. Have we fallen back? Should we go forward a bit? So, in all your excellent, selves, thank you so much, Sasha-Lee Olivier. We'll see you when you're handing over the crown. What date is that? 24th of October. What's the date?
24th of October.
He's handing over the crown in Cape Town. We'll see you. Zolani, you based in Cape Town, right? So we'll see you at the pageant then, because the crown is going to Cape Town this year. This is your invitation. You're joining us at the pageant.
Done. I'll wait for it in the mail.
Okay, it's on its way. And then Adette Bos, really such an inspiration, 60Ks down. We look forward to getting your pictures of you bungee jumping and skydiving and wearing a bikini. Okay. So we are giving you collective jujus. All our energy is coming to you, and thank you for being wonderful. my time here is done. Thank you so much to First for Women for allowing us to do this, as well as 947.